Hello crafty friends and welcome to day 2 of my 2018 Christmas series, 12 Days of Christmas. I'll be sharing 12 different Christmas videos with you over the coming weeks leading up to Christmas Eve. So here we have some Concord and 9th products. I love this stamp set. This is a Turnabout stamp set and it's from Concord and 9th and it is called the Crafty Turnabout, and I'll also be using the coordinating dies, the Crafty dies. So if you're not familiar with Turnabout, I'll give you a quick run through of how you get everything set up. You first want to take a 6x6 square of cardstock, and you can go ahead and laminate this or cover it in sticky back plastic so you've got like a wipe clean surface. But you can go ahead and draw 2 lines corner to corner. I'll go over my first line as it's a little bit light, but you just want to take some time to make sure you get this absolutely perfect so you have a cross in the center of this piece. The way that turnabouts work is that they pivot around the center of the stamp set, so you want to be able to line up the center in your MISTI or your positioning tool with the center of your stamps. So on the back of the packaging you'll find an image that you'll go ahead and line up with your stamps. Again, just take a minute to try and get this right. If you do find that you've got it ever so slightly misaligned, which I definitely do sometimes, and it's one of the reasons why I'm using a thin, somewhat light Sharpie to do this the first time, so I've got a little bit more of a chance to be able to remove any of this Sharpie using an alcohol wipe, and then I can go ahead and reline this up if I find that when I stamp this down I got it slightly wrong. So I'm just making sure everything's aligned, and then I'm drawing this on the back of the stamp set. You only have to do this once. As I mentioned, I like to do it in a slightly lighter marker and a really fine point marker for the first time, and then when I'm confident that I've got everything in exactly the right position and I haven't kind of misaligned anything, I go ahead and go over that with a thick black Sharpie. So you may find when doing this that everything kind of sticks to itself. So the stamp will stick to your ruler, the stamp will also stick to that paper in the background. And one way to kind of combat this and to let you have just that little tiny bits of adjustment so you can wiggle things around without everything sticking is to actually lay the clear sheet from your stamp packaging right over the top of that printed image and then just stick your stamp to it. And rather than trying to move your stamp just a tiny bit to get everything lined up, you can just go ahead and wiggle the kind of acetate clear sheet. I found that that's really helped me, and I definitely did that the second time around when I thickened up all of these lines. So I'm going to show you my first set of stamping. I got some removable adhesive and added it to the back of a card panel. You could just use a 6x6 piece of white cardstock if you'd prefer, but I like to do it this way. I cut down my panel to, or my paper rather, to a standard card panel size, and then I go ahead and stamp everything, and I just check that my alignment works. I make sure to clean my stamp in between each of these inkings and just rotate my paper. So I'll stamp down. I went ahead and did the cleaning. I just cropped that out, otherwise we'd be here for quite a while. And then I rotate my paper and I stamp again. And the beauty of this stamp set is that you can build up the colour and build up those images, and you can switch the colour each time you stamp, so you get a really fun, colourful background. So I've slowed the video down here just to show you that I didn't quite get my stamping right first time. So that text, the paint text for the paint part, the ink, and also the thread inside of the bobbin are all slightly misaligned. So I had a bit of a play with this. I just lay everything right on top of my packaging again, made sure it was absolutely perfect, and then went over those lines, and I'm really confident with how I've got everything lined up now. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp a few different layers. I'll have links to all of the supplies that I'm using in the description below, as well as the names of the inks. I'm using 4 different inks from Simon Says Stamp, and I actually also brought in a yellow ink from Altenew just to help get the perfect shade for that yellow colour. I felt like it needed brightening up just a little bit. So I went ahead and stamped a few different pieces here, and then I'll use all of those to turn them into Christmas cards for my crafty friends. I made sure to use cardstock that coordinates with the ink colours that I have, and also this silver mirror cardstock. I'm going to use that to create the blades of my scissors. And then I'll have this kind of postage stamp panel and also the scissor handles in the 4 different colours that I've used in the ink collection. So I ran everything through my big shot. I'll just show you this once here with the yellow piece, but I did the same thing with kind of the bluish colour, the more turquoise colour, and also the purple colour. And then I'm using those same colours in the cardstock to create some card bases by cutting my cardstock in half and then scoring at 5.5. So I'll end up with a standard A2 sized 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. So I'm going to bring in my mini MISTI to stamp a custom sentiment, and I'll be using a couple different stamps from some additional stamp sets. So I have this Merry here, which is from a W+9 Festive Greetings stamp set. And then I used a whole bunch of letters from Lawn Fawn's Violet ABCs. One of the things that I really like about this Lawn Fawn stamp set is that you get multiples of each of the letters, and they kind of have a frame around each of them, so it makes it really easy to kind of butt those up against each other and make sure you get your sentiment nice and straight, which is definitely something that I struggle with. And you'll see here I'm just going to go ahead and spell out Merry Craftmas. So rather than Merry Christmas, I went with Merry Craftmas because I felt like that worked really well for my crafty friends, and I don't know, I liked it. So once I've got everything lined up in my MISTI, I'll go ahead and pick up those stamps with the lid. And then it's really quick and easy to go ahead and ink that up with my favourite sentiment ink, which is VersaFine Onyx Black. And just stamp that down on each of the colours of the cardstock that I'll be using. You certainly don't need to use your MISTI for this step, but I do find that it makes it a lot easier just to line everything up and keep going. It definitely helps with multiples, but you could certainly use a regular stamp block for this step also. So you can see my scissors up in the corner here with the handles. I'm just going to talk about those for a moment while I finish up my stamping, because you will see just shortly in this video, unfortunately my camera completely loses focus. I'm not entirely sure what it's concentrating on, but it loses the focus of what I'm doing, so unfortunately you can't see me sticking these pieces together. But I just went ahead and laid each of the scissors one on top of the other and then added those handles on top, and I used those to finish off my cards. So here I'm grabbing those background pieces that I created at the start of the video. I went ahead and cut them down to be slightly smaller than the card bases, just so I could have some of that colour pop through. And I'm going to make sure not to line up any of the more of the turquoise colour, or let's say the yellow. So if I've got the yellow, I'll make sure not to use a yellow kind of postage stamped piece on top, and not to have yellow scissor handles. So I kind of tried to pull in each of the colours on the card. You can see here, this is where my camera lost focus. Unfortunately, it did get a little bit worse than this, which is why I've had to edit out creating these scissors. But you'll see here in just a moment what everything looked like when I pulled it together. So I think it looks really fun to have that crafty background and have such bright, fun, non-traditional Christmas colours, and then to have those fun scissors also. There's a couple other dies that you can create, or a couple other crafty icons you can create using the dies, and I think it would be fun to mix this up and create a set. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. You can go ahead and click the subscribe button, and you can also tap the bell notification icon to switch on post notifications. All of the items I've used are linked in the description below. That's all from me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.